Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. When the Pharisees with some scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus, they observed that some of his disciples ate their meals with unclean, that is, unwashed hands. For the Pharisees, in fact, all Jews do not eat without carefully washing their hands, keeping the tradition of the elders. And on coming from the marketplace, they do not eat without purifying themselves. And there are many other things that they have traditionally observed: the purification of cups and jugs and kettles and beds. So the Pharisees and scribes questioned him, "Why do your disciples not follow the tradition of the elders, but instead eat a meal with unclean hands?" He responded, "Well did Isaiah prophesy about you hypocrites, as it is written, 'This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines human precepts.' You disregard God's commandment, but cling to human tradition." He summoned the crowd again and said to them, "Hear me, all of you, and understand. Nothing that enters one from outside can defile that person, but the things that come out from within are what defile. From within people, from their hearts, come evil thoughts, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, licentiousness, envy, blasphemy, arrogance, folly. All these evils come from within, and they defile." The Gospel of the Lord. So as we listen to that gospel, that can bring up a pretty serious question for us, can it? And that question is, do you wash your hands? Dan, do you wash your hands? Yes, you do wash your hands? How about after you blow your nose or something like that? Do you wash your hands? If. So not always? All right. Do you use soap when you wash your hands? You do, all the time. You use soap when you wash your hands. Okay. Do you need to go to confession after? Okay. So we've all been in bathrooms and restaurants and stores, right? You see that sign that hangs on the mirror, "Employees must wash their hands before they return to work." Dan washes his hands, employees wash their hands. So hand washing is a pretty important thing for us. You might say it's a tradition. It's something we do, something we should do. And we do it because we don't want to get sick, right? And we don't want other people to get sick, so we do it just to limit the spread of disease. So it's a good idea. But imagine this. It's Saturday, you're working outside, or you're playing outside, you're doing something, and you get hungry. So you think, okay, I'm going to go to Subway. I could use a sandwich right about now. So you go into the store, but before you go to the counter, you go to the bathroom. And it's not one of those small bathrooms with just one person in it. It's, good size, it's got a couple sinks and stuff. And you do whatever, and you're checking yourself out in the mirror before you go get your sandwich, and somebody's next to you washing their hands, and you don't wash yours, and you just leave. You go in line, and you get your food, you get your sandwich, and you're waiting at the end there, and the person that was in the bathroom with you comes out, and they recognize you. And right away, they point, "Unclean, unclean, he's unclean. He did not wash his hands before he got his sandwich. He's unclean." So you're kind of embarrassed and ashamed, and you hang your head, sneak out the door, and you can't come back and get a sandwich until you go to confession. Well, you think, okay, it's Saturday, Holy Redeemer's right down the road, confession's at 4:15, I can just pop in there, go into the confessional, "Father, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I did not wash my hands before I ordered my sandwich at Subway today. I am truly sorry." Father absolves you of your sins, and away you go. Back to Subway, and as long as you wash your hands this time, you can get a sandwich for dinner. So, can you imagine that happening? No, that doesn't happen. Because even though washing our hands is a good idea, and you might say it's a tradition, and it's something we do, a practice we have, it is not one of the 10 commandments. So if we don't do it, it's not a sin. So that's kind of what was going on in the gospel today, right? The Pharisees and the scribes saw Jesus' disciples eating, and they didn't wash their hands. So they went up to Jesus and said, "Hey, Jesus, what's up with your guys? They didn't wash their hands. Don't they know they're supposed to wash their hands? Don't they know it's a tradition to wash their hands? Don't they know we always wash our hands? Are you going to go tell them to wash their hands? They need to wash their hands." And Jesus just looked at him, and I can just imagine a little smile. He just said, "You hypocrites, you worship God with your lips, not with your hearts. You take these ideas you have, these human traditions, and you transform them into religious doctrine and rules, and then you force them on people. And if you didn't eat the right food, or you didn't eat foods that were prepared properly, or you ate with dirty hands, you were defiled." And what does that word defiled mean? It means you were made unclean. So who else was unclean in those times? Can't leave until you tell me the answer. Lepers. Lepers were unclean. And what did they do with lepers? They cast them off to the margins of society. They separated them from everybody else. They weren't allowed to be with anybody else. The worst thing about being unclean, though, was you were seen as being unfit to worship God. So you couldn't come to the synagogue. You weren't welcome anymore. So you were defiled. So they took all that stuff and they used it. They used something that started as a tradition, hand washing, something like that, which was probably a good idea. They probably did it for the same reason we do it, just to control the spread of sickness. But they turned it into something that they used to judge a person's worthiness before God. And that's what Jesus got so upset about. So he called everybody over to him. Said, "Come here. Listen. Understand what I'm about to tell you. It's important. Nothing that goes in you will defile you. Nothing that goes in will make you unclean. Nothing you eat will separate you from God." And that right there is the reason why we as Christians don't have the same rules for diets as Jews have. We're not too concerned with pork. We're not too concerned with kosher meals. We're probably not even worried about washing our hands before we eat, because none of that defiles us. What does defile us though, is what comes out of us, what comes out of our hearts. The evil thoughts that come out of our hearts in the form of our sin allow evil to enter the world through us. And that's what defiles us. That's what separates us from God. And I don't know about you, but when I think that evil can enter the world through me, through something that comes out of me, I don't feel very good about that. It's kind of scary. And we can react to that reality in a couple ways, right? One, we can ignore it. Nope, I don't have any evil thoughts in my heart. I don't sin that much. I don't do anything that bad. I'm good. I don't need to worry about what he's talking about. That's not me. Forget it. We just push it aside. Others of us can react differently. We can dwell on these evil thoughts we think we have in our hearts, and we can make a big deal out of them. And we can shove them deep down inside of us to try to hide them. We hide them from God. We hide them from other people. And we walk around with our masks on all day so everybody else thinks, yep, we're okay, we're fine, we've got everything under control. But deep down, we're just hurting. We're just burning in our hearts. But if we do what we said we would do last week, if we choose Jesus, if we look into the eyes of the one who agonized and suffered for us, if we touch the one who died for us, if we embrace the one that rose for us, if we fall in love with Jesus, who is alive, who loved us before we loved anybody, who loves us more than anything, if we do that, something changes in our hearts. They soften. And when they soften, we can't ignore or hide those evil thoughts anymore. They make us feel sad. They make us feel ashamed. They make us feel sorry. And we don't feel that way because we're not acting righteously and earning our way into heaven. We feel that way because we love Jesus. And these things in our hearts are straining our relationship with Jesus. They're trying to pull us apart. They're getting in the way. We feel like we're hurting Jesus, like he won't love us anymore. But we can take comfort in this. Jesus already knows our heart, and there is nothing in it that would ever make him love you any more or any less than he does right now. So, when we realize the love that we have for Jesus and the love he has for us, and that comes together, then we can do something with our hearts that we don't do with very many people. We can just give it to him. We can trust him with it. We can trust that he will never abandon us. He always wants to be where we are. We can trust that he only wants what's best for us. We can trust that he will take our hearts, purify it, clean them, and set us free from sin, free from all these evil thoughts, free to be with him in our hearts where he can speak to us. So you see, it's not really about acting right to earn our way into heaven. It's not about worshiping with our lips. It's about what's inside, what's in our hearts. It's about our relationship with Jesus. Last week, we chose him. This week, let's give our hearts to him. Jesus, Lord, here's my heart. Take it. I know it's full of all kinds of garbage and junk, but you know what? I just can't carry it anymore. I'm tired. Please, take this. I trust you. I love you. Love and mercy. They have a name, and its name is Jesus Christ.